We got drums over at the White House. Well, I don't want to say the word rats. I do want to say the sinking ship. And whatever those vermin happen to be, they appear to be heading for the exits. Some running on their own volition, some being pushed out, where his communication director falls in there. Well, you be the judge as I tell you this story. CBS News reporting the White House is preparing a plan to restructure communications and possibly staffing for when President Trump returns from his overseas trip. So, and now he has returned, and all of a sudden there is a departure. Interesting. CBS News has confirmed from 2 sources that 3 leakers of classified information at the White House have been identified and are expected to be fired. Drums. Okay, let's continue on this. Last week, the Trump campaign released an email to supporters entitled "Sabotage," and that's actually, I screamed that because it's in capital letters, in which the campaign said there are people within our own unelected bureaucracy that want to sabotage President Trump and our entire America First movement. Man, lots of internal dramas here. Is this guy one of them? Well, let's find out today. President Donald Trump's communications director, Mike Dubke, is resigning from the White House. They're kicking him out. They're showing him the door. They're kicking him out the door. What can he do? So was he one of the leakers? I don't know. Apparently Trump was mad at him for other reasons as well. That's what we're going to get into some political reporting in a second. Stay with Huffington Post for a second. Dubke didn't give a reason for his departure, but multiple media outlets reported that it was because he was largely isolated from the president's steadfast inner circle. So let me explain what parts of that are true and untrue. Now, when you don't give a reason for your departure, that means it was bad. So you didn't even have time to come up with a BS excuse of like, oh man, my stomach hurt, and the dog ate my homework, and my wife sprained her ankle, and my family, I gotta go take care of my family, right? Man, that is like, hey, dude, you gotta pack your stuff, and you send me a letter telling me how proud you were of working here, and it was such an honor, okay? Go, get out. So that's partly what happened here. In terms of, is it because he didn't have much internal support? Well, partly so, as you see here, that the only guy that apparently had his back was Sean Spicer, which is clearly not enough. But that's not the reason for his departure. It's that when he got into some trouble and they wanted to make him the scapegoat, he didn't have enough political clout to be able, and enough allies in the White House to be able to survive. So that's what happened here. So, but why was he in trouble in the first place? Well, another Republican strategist, now this is from The Hill, another Republican strategist close to the White House said Trump was annoyed at Dubke after the aide told aides last month, there is no Trump doctrine. Yeah, Trump is so funny, man. What's the Trump doctrine? Oh, of course there's no Trump doctrine. He says one thing, then he says the exact opposite in the next sentence, or sometimes within the sentence, let alone the next day or the next week. So what would a Trump doctrine be? We're against trade deals, except we're totally in favor of them. We're going to show China that you can't do currency manipulation, except we're going to let them do currency manipulation. And the list goes on and on and on. What in the world would be the Trump doctrine? If you press Trump on it at this very moment, he wouldn't be able to tell you himself. And he's Trump of the Trump doctrine. But nonetheless, Dubke says what is clearly obvious. He says, how come he gets to say there's no Trump doctrine? How dare he? Well, the knucklehead, what is it then? I don't know, but that sounds embarrassing. Yeah, it's embarrassing because you're embarrassing. So sources say Trump stewed over the remark reported then by Politico. In the weeks that followed, he told friends and associates he didn't feel like Dubke was doing a good job. He gives these guys in the communications department an absolute nightmare of a job, no-win situation. He tells them to go and lie on one particular topic, and then he will tweet the opposite sometimes within hours, sometimes within minutes of him sending out those folks with certain marching orders. He doesn't tell them ahead of time what kind of trouble he's going to get into. He doesn't tell them what the strategy should be. That is an impossible job. And then when you don't somehow show Donald Trump in an excellent light, he goes, this is a Dubke guy. Doesn't even know what the Trump doctrine is. Okay, what is it? I don't know, but Dubke. Okay, as a White House source says, as a result, Dubke became the fall guy. He never recovered. And he's a child. Trump is nothing but a child, man. It wasn't me, it was Dubke. It was Dubke. Who thinks it was actually Dubke? Nobody thinks that. He was around in the White House for only 3 months, came in as communications director, and was he a leaker? I don't know. It's possible he was one of the leakers. Everybody in the White House is leaking, so you can't swing a bat in the White House, which, by the way, you shouldn't do, and not hit a leaker. So I don't know if they fired him because of the leaker or because Trump is a child. Probably the combination of the two. And then, but Dubke's allies, presumably, as they're leaking this to the Hill, say that he wanted to leave too. Now that's standard when you're shown the door, but he does have a good case to make here. Last quote for you guys. Another source close to Dubke said the appointment of Mueller as special prosecutor was, quote, the last straw. In other words, vermin meet sinking ship. It's like, I'm getting blamed for things that makes no sense whatsoever. Did I leak? Probably, everybody's leaking. And the whole ship is leaking. We're gonna run into an iceberg. There's a special prosecutor now. You wanna fire me? Great, pull the chute. Why am I leaving? I didn't bother coming out with a reason. I gotta go. So Dubke had to go, and now he's gone. He won't be the last one. There'll be a lot more people heading for the exit soon, as Trump loves blaming other people for his problems. Plus they are leaking, plus he and the entire administration is in a world of trouble. Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.